William Shakespeare. Chapter 1. A Boy from Stratford. I, William Shakespeare, was born in a bustling town called Stratford upon Avon, a long time ago, in the year of 1564. My father, John, was a glover, a man who made gloves for a living. My mother, Mary, was a caring woman who looked after our big family. We lived in a house with half-timbered walls, not far from the river Avon. Stratford was a lively place. People bustled about the market square, selling all sorts of things: fresh bread, juicy apples, and colorful cloth. On special days, there would be plays performed in the town square. Actors, dressed in grand costumes, would tell stories of brave knights and magical creatures. These plays filled me with wonder. I would watch wide-eyed as the actors spoke in booming voices and made the crowds roar with laughter. As a young boy, I went to school in Stratford. We learned to read and write, and to recite poems from famous authors. I loved the sound of the words, the way they could paint pictures in your mind. I started writing little poems myself, silly rhymes about my friends and family. One sunny afternoon, when I was about 12 years old, I was walking home from school when I saw a grand building unlike anything I had ever seen before. It was the new theater, called the New Place. I pressed my nose against the cold stone wall and peeked inside. The grand stage was empty, but I could almost imagine the actors strutting their stuff, the audience cheering. From that moment, I knew I wanted to be part of the world of theater. Chapter 2. London Calling. Saying goodbye to Stratford wasn't easy, but at 18, I set off for the enormous city of London. Imagine a place unlike anything you've ever seen. It was loud, with many people everywhere. Carts rattled through the streets, people shouted greetings, and the yummy smell of cooked meat filled the air. Finding work at the theater wasn't easy at first. I wasn't an actor, but a helper. I cleaned the stage, fixed costumes that were ripped, and ran errands for the actors. It wasn't glamorous, but it got me closer to the theater world I loved so much. Slowly, I learned more and more about plays. I watched the actors rehearse their lines, listened to the playwrights talk about their ideas, and soaked up all the knowledge I could. The itch to write returned, but this time, I wanted to write stories for the stage, not silly rhymes. My first plays weren't perfect. They had many mistakes, and the audiences weren't always happy. But I never gave up. With each play, I learned from my mistakes and got better. Soon, I was writing stories that captured people's imaginations. I wrote funny plays that made them laugh out loud, sad plays that made them cry, and history plays that took them back in time. These plays were performed in amazing theaters like the Globe Theatre. Imagine a round building with a roof made of straw, open to the sky above. The actors performed on a raised platform in the center, and the audience stood or sat on benches all around. The energy was amazing. The excitement of the crowd would flow right onto the stage, and the actors would deliver their lines with so much feeling. I wrote about kings and queens, brave soldiers, and lovers whose love wasn't meant to be. I wrote about love, loss, revenge, and forgiveness. My plays explored all the different feelings people have, and people of all ages loved them. Chapter 3. Words Take Flight. My plays started to become famous, and people began calling me the Bard of Avon. Think of a bard as a storyteller, someone who uses words like magic. My fame spread throughout London, and even the Queen, the most important person in the land, enjoyed my plays. With all this success, I was finally able to afford a big house back in Stratford. Remember the grand building I peeked into as a boy? The one called New Place? Well, guess what? I bought it. Living there felt like a dream come true. But fame never changed who I was at heart. My family and friends in Stratford were still very important to me. We spent lots of time together, and their love and support fueled my creativity. Writing plays became my passion, and I constantly strive to create new and exciting stories. I poured all my heart and soul into my work, wanting to leave a legacy of stories that would entertain and inspire people for hundreds of years to come. The words I wrote had a powerful effect on the people who saw my plays. They made them laugh until their bellies ached, cry until tears streamed down their faces, and think deeply about the world around them. Through my plays, I could take them on incredible journeys. Imagine sailing the high seas with brave pirates, or exploring a magical forest filled with fairies. I could make them feel like they were right there with the characters, experiencing their joys and sorrows firsthand. My plays explored what it means to be human. They talked about all the different emotions we feel: happiness, sadness, anger, love, fear, and everything in between. They showed how these emotions can shape our actions and decisions. For example, in one play, I wrote about a king who became so jealous of his friend that he tricked him and stole his crown. The play explored the dangers of jealousy and how it can lead to terrible choices. In another play, I wrote about two young lovers who were forbidden to be together because of their families. This play showed the power of love and how it can conquer even the greatest obstacles. Through my stories, I wanted people to understand each other better. I showed them that even though we may come from different backgrounds or have different experiences, we all share the same basic human emotions. We all want to be loved, respected, and happy. My plays became so popular that people started memorizing lines from them and even quoting them in everyday conversation. Imagine using words from a play to describe something that happened to you. It shows how powerful my words were. Of course, I wasn't the only writer in London. There were many other talented playwrights creating amazing stories. But there was something special about my plays. They seemed to connect with people on a deeper level. Maybe it was the way I used language, making even complex ideas easy to understand. Maybe it was the way I created characters that felt real and relatable. Whatever the reason, my plays became a beloved part of English culture. Even today, hundreds of years later, my plays are still performed all over the world. People continue to be fascinated by the stories I told and the characters I brought to life. It makes me happy to know that my words have the power to entertain and inspire people across generations. And who knows, maybe one day you'll see one of my plays performed live. It will be an experience you'll never forget. Chapter 4. The Bard of Avon. Being called the Bard of Avon was a huge honor. Remember, a bard is a storyteller, a weaver of words with magic in their touch. My fame spread far and wide in London, reaching even the Queen. The most important person in the whole land enjoyed my plays. Can you imagine? All this success allowed me to return to Stratford and buy a truly grand house. The very same new place I peeked into as a young boy, filled with wonder. Living there felt like a dream come true. But even with all the fame, I never forgot my roots. My family and friends in Stratford remained close to my heart. We spent lots of time together, their love and support fueling my creative fire. Writing plays became my life's passion. I constantly strive to create fresh, exciting stories. Every word I wrote came from the depths of my heart and soul. My goal? To leave a legacy of stories that would entertain and inspire people for centuries to come. The words in my plays held a powerful sway over audiences. They made them erupt in laughter, cry buckets of tears, and truly ponder the world around them. Through my plays, I whisked them away on incredible journeys. Imagine sailing the vast oceans with daring pirates or venturing into a magical forest brimming with fairies. My words transported them right beside the characters, experiencing their joys and sorrows firsthand. Bard of Avon wasn't just about fame and fortune. It was about the joy of storytelling, the power of words to connect with people, and the ability to create something that would last for generations. It was about using my imagination to transport audiences to different worlds and make them feel a whole range of emotions. And that, for me, was the greatest reward of all. Chapter 5. The Weight of Words. As the years passed, the weight of responsibility I felt as a storyteller grew heavier. My plays had become incredibly popular, and people looked to them for entertainment, but also for deeper meaning. I wanted to use my words wisely to tell stories that not only entertained but also made people think about the world around them. I started to explore more complex themes in my plays. I wrote about the nature of power, the struggle between good and evil, and the meaning of life and death. These were big questions, and I didn't always have all the answers. But I hoped that by raising these questions, I could spark conversations and encourage people to think for themselves. One of my plays explored the dangers of unchecked ambition. The main character was a man who would stop at nothing to achieve his goals, even if it meant hurting the people around him. The play showed how ambition can be a powerful force, but also how it can lead us down a destructive path if we don't keep it in check. Another play dealt with the loss of a loved one. The characters in this play grappled with grief, anger, and confusion. The play didn't offer any easy answers, but it showed the importance of facing our emotions and finding a way to move on. My plays weren't always dark and serious. I also wrote comedies that made people laugh out loud. Laughter is a powerful tool, and I believe that it could bring people together and help them see the world in a new light. In my comedies, I poked fun at human folly and celebrated the joys of life. Chapter 6: A Legacy of Words. As I grew older, I started to think about my legacy. What would people remember me for after I was gone? I didn't want to be remembered just for the fame and fortune I had achieved. I wanted to be remembered for the stories I had told, the emotions I had evoked, and the way I had made people think. I continued to write plays until the very end of my life. My later plays were some of my most profound. They reflected on the experiences of a lifetime and explored the themes of love, loss, and forgiveness. When I finally passed away, I left behind a body of work that continues to be admired and studied today. My plays have been translated into countless languages and performed all over the world. They have inspired countless other writers, actors, and directors. But most importantly, they have touched the hearts and minds of millions of people. My greatest legacy is not the fame or fortune I achieved, but the stories I told. These stories have the power to transport us to different times and places, to make us laugh and cry, and to help us understand the world around us. And as long as people continue to read and perform my plays, my words will live on. Chapter 7: Curtain Call. Though many years have passed since my time, the magic of theater continues to enthrall audiences. Imagine the lights dimming, the hushed anticipation as the curtain rises. Suddenly, you're transported to another world. A bustling marketplace in ancient Rome, a haunted castle in Scotland, or a magical forest filled with fairies. This is the power of theater, the power of stories brought to life. My journey as a storyteller began in a small town called Stratford, fueled by a love for plays and a fascination with words. From humble beginnings, I found myself in the heart of London's vibrant theater scene. I learned from the best, soaked up the energy of the crowds, and poured my heart and soul into crafting stories. The road to success wasn't always smooth. My early plays weren't perfect, but with each one, I grew as a writer. I learned to use language in a way that resonated with audiences, to create characters that felt real and relatable, and to explore themes that sparked conversation and made people think. The greatest reward? The connection I felt with the audiences who laughed, cried, and cheered along with my stories. Knowing my words could transport them to different worlds, make them feel a range of emotions, and perhaps even see the world in a new light, filled me with a sense of purpose. As the years rolled by, my plays became a cherished part of English culture. They transcended borders and languages, reaching people from all walks of life. Even today, hundreds of years later, my stories continue to be performed, studied, and admired. This is a testament to the enduring power of storytelling. Perhaps you'll one day find yourself sitting in a darkened theater, captivated by a performance of one of my plays. As the actors bring the words to life, Close your eyes and let your imagination take flight. Journey with the characters, feel their emotions, and allow yourself to be swept away by the magic of theater. Remember, the stories I tell are for everyone. They are windows into the human experience, exploring love, loss, joy, sorrow, and all the emotions that make us who we are. So, the next time you see a play, remember the power of words, the magic of storytelling, and the legacy that lives on long after the curtain falls.